So for the past couple of months, Book of Moon has been seeing a lot of play competitively speaking, and there's a really good reason why. It's a really convenient quick play that isn't once per turn that can also flip your own monsters face down, which is really good at dodging cards like Infinite and Permanence. But more often than not, you're using it on your opponent's monsters. This card is a fair 1-for-1 or neg-1 depending on how you see it. This is unlike Book of Eclipse, which is pretty much the embodiment of high risk, high reward. Book of Moon is safer and also more reliable. Now, even though you're not making your opponent actually lose a resource with Book of Moon, there's still a lot to be done with this card. First things first, this card is incredible both going first and second against pretty much every single deck this format. Going first against Kashtira, you can pretty much make your opponent pass turn right away. They would need to draw cards like Forbidden Lance, Enemy Controller, Dark Hole, or Kashtira Bird to be able to play through it. Now, against Purely, this card is way better than Forbidden Chalice because you're also cutting off your opponent from having an Xyz monster that can turn it into a Zeus. And this really comes up if your opponent is going second against you. Now, it just isn't really good against Labyrinth going first, but going second, it does actually have some utility. You can flip their one and only Labyrinth monster so that their Kuklog does not actually get to allow them to use a trap card that was set right away. Or you can Book of Moon their Lovely when they use Big Welcome, so at least they won't get to pop a card you control or in your hand. Again, not ideal, but at least this card has a lot of overlap even against trap decks. But more often than not, you'll be really happy that you have this card in your main deck because it's again extremely good against pretty much everyone. Going second against Kashtira, it's pretty disgusting because it makes their Rise Art no longer really relevant, and that is the main threat against you. So if they're playing around Nibiru and they make an Rise Art and 4 summons and nothing else, Book of Moon is pretty much game ending against them. And if all you do is Shangri-La Pass, you can at least use the Book of Moon on the draw phase and your opponent cannot summon the Fenrir on standby. Now against Purely, Book of Moon is really interesting because now that Delicious Memory is at 1, it's actually much harder for them to summon a Noir on turn 1. So more often than not, the Purely deck will be using a Purely Noir to have access to Purely Leap so that they can summon the Noir on your turn. And since they usually have 2 copies of Sleepy Memory underneath their Purely Noir, they will be drawing 2 cards on your standby phase and an extra 2 cards with Purely Noir using the Purely Leap. But Book of Moon says no to almost all of that because even though you do let your opponent get 2 draws with the Purely Noir Sleepy Memories, you're not going to be allowing your opponent to resolve Purely Leap. You will simply be chaining Book of Moon against Purely Noir and the Purely Leap will not be able to summon Purely Noir. And also, it's not like Book of Eclipse that actually might lose to Ash, so it's actually way safer. And it's also, again, a quick play, so even if your opponent drew Anti-Spell Fragrance, not the end of the world. You can actually argue that sometimes Book of Moon can be better than Kaiju's even going second, because at least you're not going to let your opponent draw 4 cards and recycle a bunch of cards with My Friend and the Field Spell. But again, this is all granted you have a play at your disposal. Book of Moon doesn't really make any bad hands better, unlike Triple Tactic Talent and Thrust. So if you draw Book of Moon, get ready to capitalize off of it, otherwise it's pretty much useless. Crazy how even the baby version of Book of Eclipse does put some time constraint on you. Not the same obviously, but you get the point. Anyways, I'm willing to bet that even if Kashtira were to die, Book of Moon would still see a lot of play. So Book of Moon always pops in and out of formats sporadically, and you need to know when to incorporate it to your strategy. And right now is a pretty good time for it, as I've said. And considering the fact that almost every single deck out there is main decking 3 copies of Book of Moon, I feel like it's safe to say that it's probably the best staple at the moment. Of course, this is within the context of the metagame. Anyways, that's all I had for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts about Book of Moon in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.